Happy New Year, everybody. It's your boy, Flobo Boyce, and this is Draped in Gold. And even though I told myself I wouldn't say something as lame as It's Your Boy, I did it anyway. This is Draped in Gold, the after show that covers both NXTUK and NXT Classic. But I, as usual, am not alone. I'm being joined by the man with a heart of gold, ready to make things happen in the new year. If he isn't already doing it now, give it up for the real Jack Farmer. What's going on, man?
Oh, yeah, it's your boy, Jack Farmer. So excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the solidarity. Wait, you never say that.
Well, I thought that, you know, in the past on this show, you and I, we've had our differences. We disagree on some things, and I just wanted to get started on the right foot and say it's your boy so that you and I can be on the same team at least for a little bit. This time of year, you know?
It's a good thing that Eddie Dennis is on this episode, or else it'll be a giant fight where it's all said and done.
I have a feeling I'm going to bring him up, though.
Well, if you guys are listening live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, thank you so much. And if you're on that Twitch platform, hey, give me a follow, man. I want to be your bestest friend. Let me be all push notified in your phone and mobile devices. Jack Farmer, look, I don't know about you, but this first week of 2021 has been absolutely mammoth for wrestling, and NXT UK was no different. Talk about his main event. The newly signed Ben Carter gets a title match, his first time out. He's taking on the true Cruiserweight champion, Jordan Devlin.
Man, everyone's talking about New Year's resolutions and how to improve themselves, and all I can think about as I'm watching pro wrestling this week is that we are spoiled if we think that we need to improve anything, because this has been such a good week of wrestling, and you started off talking today about this main event, Ben Carter, Jordan Devlin. I said going into this match, you and I chatting offline, that this was a lot of pressure on Ben Carter because Devlin is amazing and his matches are amazing. And in Ben Carter's first match, if he didn't provide amazing, it was going to be all on him. Flobo, I watched the match, I watched the main event, and I have to say it was amazing because I did not know which way it was going to go the entire time. I had no idea who was going to come out on top, and I can't believe that the Irish Ace barely squeaked one out against a guy who was making a debut.
Yeah, squeaked one out. I love it. Yeah, this match here, I mentioned this on Twitter, was oddly patriotic. You know, the British flag of Ben Carter, the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin. Fantastic match to your point, and I was a little nervous. You know, in my heart, in my mind, I will not flip flop or waver. I do think Jordan Devlin is the true cruiserweight champion, and if he would have lost it tonight, well, it'll be a well-done victory for Ben Carter, but I would have totally shifted the landscape of the eventual dream match we're all waiting for of Jordan Devlin against Santos Escobar.
I agree. It would have been such a disappointment because even though Ben Carter proved himself to be amazing today, there's something about this built-in who is the real cruiserweight champion narrative that's been building between these two, whether they address it directly or not. I mean, I agree. Jordan Devlin's the guy. He won the title. He's never lost it. And you can see him defending it on NXT UK and basically open challenges every time he's out there. And he's looking great, man. He is putting on some muscle. I don't know how much more muscle he can put on before he's no longer under that 205. But clearly the true cruiserweight champion resides in the UK. And I think he's showing the world that he's the guy.
You know, every time we talk about NXT UK, you tell me that Jordan Devlin is a true cruiserweight champion, which I agree. But then we shift to NXT, you say Santos Escobar is a true cruiserweight champion.
You're always trying to find these fake stories, Flo, but you're always trying to divide us. Here I come onto your show, and I come to your show, and I say it's your boy to try to show solidarity. And the first thing you do, the first match we're talking about, you're putting words in my mouth. You're trying to drive a wedge between us. I've never flip-flopped on this. Jordan Devlin is the guy. Never won.
Let us be known at 4 minutes in that Jack Farmer said that Jordan Devlin is the guy in the division. But, hey, Ben Carter's official debut is next week, and that raises a question I have. First time out here in front of everyone, didn't come up with the win. But as long as I've been a fan of that wrestling, 9.10 times out of 10, right? The person who debuts usually wins their first match. Does it matter that Ben Carter had a losing effort his first time out? Does that hurt his stock before his official debut? His soft opening ruined his hard opening, Jack?
If this was his debut and if he has to take a loss, if you're going to take a loss like this to a guy like Jordan Devlin, I would take a loss like this over a Jordan Devlin, over beating some person we've never heard of to build up momentum any day of the week. I think Ben Carter showed that he can hang with the very best in the world today. And there's no amount of wins that you can get that will necessarily ever prove that. This is something that I think sets him apart from anyone else that's debuting. I think it's a very, very good start for him, and I think he'll be holding gold sooner rather than later, whether it be a Cruiserweight Championship or something else. I think he's a star. He proved it, and I think this is a very good debut for him.
The star tag already. You know, Jack, you're very, very stingy with those. I just want to say.
I think you look at his pedigree as far as being trained by a Seth Rollins. You look at the way they're presenting him, and I bring up the way they're presenting him because they have a lot of new talent that comes in the WWE, and not everyone gets the promo package, the big debut, championship matches, and most importantly, the biggest thing, the biggest tip-off that he's going to be a big star is being a part of the Supernova sessions with Noam Dar. Right. I mean, he doesn't just get nobodies on his show. He only gets top talent. So if he's bringing him on now, you know that it's going to be a big career for this guy.
Yeah, second episode in, and Ben Carter got the good folding chair, so you could tell definitely a star in the making. You know, I actually like a Supernova session. As weird as it is, as of all the talk show segments in pro wrestling, how funky that one is, I kind of think it's one of my favorites because Noam Dar almost doesn't even care he's on his own show, which is pretty awesome.
I disagree. I think what makes it so great, as you look at other talk shows during wrestling, you can tell it feels like they're just kind of winging it, making it up as they go, but you can listen. He did a lot of research for the show. Noam Dar, he did a ton of research and preparing.
Ben Carpenter.
He had 7 questions about shelving ready to go because he did his homework. He did his research, and I think that that's what you can learn from Supernova is that you need to be prepared, as he always is.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I think it's totally wrong, but I like it.
Tell me Kevin Owens would have had 7 questions about carpentry ready to go before his KO shows.
Actually, no, I think Kevin Owens is more like concerned with his furniture getting destroyed every episode, but I understand. I totally get where you're coming from. But
if you had a good carpenter to make the furniture, maybe it wouldn't get broken.
I set myself up for that one. Damn it. Our show opens with the women's division, Piper Niven against Jinny. And Jinny, much like Jordan Devlin, is putting on some muscle, I guess, in an attempt to look at Kaylee Ray to have a bit of a weight advantage because she is now the new #1 contender, beating Piper Niven, but she was not alone. Joseph Connors get involved. The relationship hasn't been established, though. Jack Farmer, what is going on with Jinny and Joseph Connors?
I think Joseph Connors, like most of us, is just sick of seeing Piper Niven bully her way into repeated title matches. We've seen about 100 Piper Niven title matches. I'm so excited we're going to get to see some new blood in this championship picture. And I think Connors was just like, man, I'm sick of her taking shortcuts. I'm sick of her doing these things to try to fake her way into title shots. The real #1 contender, the person that's earned it, the person we all want to see get a title shot, Jinny, deserves it, and now she's going to get it. And I'm just glad that Joseph Connors spoke for all of us and helped make it happen.
Well, I usually say Joseph Connors is usually the Rodney Dangerfield of this brand. He gets no respect. He's usually the guy that's on the fall guy for lots of things. Now, we talked about this before the holiday break. And Jinny, the fashionista, is an antagonist. And so is Kaylee Ray. So this match that's going to happen, like, eventually, who do we root for as fans at home?
I will always say this is Kaylee Ray's division. She's going to be the champion. She's going to be the champion as long as she wants to. You can root for whoever you want to, Flobo, but at the end of the day, champions do what champions do, and champions win. So one way or another, the outcome is going to be the same. So just pick who you like, and if you like losing, root for one side. If you like winning, root for the other.
That seems very mature of you. I guess I agree with that. Going to give a shout out to the chat here. Johan Pena, a long time watcher of the show. Thank you so much for making Draped and Go a thing. I really do mean that. Has a question. He says, now that the UK is on full lockdown again, what do you guys think is going to happen to the show? And by guys, he meant you, Jack Farmer, because I have no idea.
If there's one thing that the WWE and NXT have proven over the past year is that the show must go on. They'll figure out a way to make something happen. I don't know what they'll do, but they'll find a way to keep things rolling and keep things going. That's just what they do. The show must go on, and no company exemplifies that more so than the WWE.
If I had to guess, I think they stockpiled episodes because I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure the A-Kid match is supposed to happen this week. I think they're trying to stockpile some of the matchups here so they can spread them out. Plus, they have the archive episodes if need be. And they have some UK talent that's still in NXT if they want to say a feature match of Imperium taking on GYV, for example. So there's ways around it. I would hate for them to go straight off to best of archives, but I think a mix of old and new could work out for them, personally.
Yeah, I think breaking it up too would be kind of cool. So I think that's fine. And because they have such good matches in that in their archives, and I think there's a lot of people who, like me, jumped on during the restart. It's okay to re-show those because a lot of those are new to a lot of us. So I think it's sort of win-win. Yeah,
if you guys have not watched NXT UK, shame on you, but you can't go wrong with some to takeover, especially ones in Blackpool. But I mentioned it just a second ago, but next week we're getting Walter versus A-Kid, and I, for one, am all about this match because A-Kid has shown he has the stripes. Walter's one of the best in the world at what he does. But the more I think about it, you can call me a negative Nancy, negative Nelly. Well, I mean, I kind of am. I'm just cynical, right? That's what happens when you're a Mets fan. Do you think this is kind of a lose-lose situation? If Walter loses this match, it's, oh man, A-Kid beat you. But if A-Kid loses this match, it's like, well, what does that say about the Heritage Division? I don't know. I am crossing all my fingers and toes. I'm thinking about the prospect of who might win this match next week.
Well, first, I want to give a shout out to the WWE NXT UK production team because that hype video was great. It really made me a believer in A-Kid. And if you're not a believer in A-Kid at this point, what are you doing? You're a slow learner because we were not a believer in him in round 1 of the Heritage Cup, not a believer in round 2, maybe even not a believer in round 3. Some people weren't a believer when he beat Tyler Bate. You have to believe in a guy that continues to win over and over and over again. And Flovo, I think he's at a point where if he hangs with the ring general, if he just hangs with him, you got a major talent on your hands that's going to be there for a long, long time. He's so good. He's so young, and he can do so much stuff. All he needs to do is hang in there. All he needs to do is Rocky 1 with this guy. Just hang in there, and he's going to have everything you can want. Now, that's a tall, tall order hanging in with Walter because, as I've said, he could look at me wrong and I'd quit. But this is an opportunity for A-Kid to show himself just by hanging in there. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to give Walter more of a fight than Walter may be expecting. But at the end of the day, man, you never bet against Walter, ever. So I think it'll be fine. I think Walter's going to get another big win against a guy who's on a huge roll. And I think A-Kid's going to show that he is in that top tier of wrestler on NXT UK. And I think we as fans are going to win. And I think it shows that all it takes is stacking up a few wins to become the person you've always wanted to be in pro wrestling.
Hey, you said it hit the nail on the head, man. I'd rather take a 10 tombstone pile drivers than a chop for Walter. Shout out to Maj. She says he's going to work right now, but just saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year, Maj.
City's win. Yes, I love derbies. City actually edged out Man U by 2-0. But it was a good game. Good game. You can't bet on Manchester United. I will never gloat, except for that 6-1 game. I'll never gloat because they're such a tough team. And the Everything tournament is later on today. Johan Pena, come on back for that. The Walter is the class of the organization. It's kind of interesting because when I think of the NXT United Kingdom Championship, I think of Pete Dunne. But the way it's going, I mean, Walter may be the longest reigning United Kingdom champion, lockdown asterisks included, when it's all said and done. So why not, man? Why not have him be the class of the division just a little bit longer?
He's the longest current reigning champion, right? As far as like in all of WWE, no one's had their title longer than him.
I think Kaylee Ray. I've looked that up, but it's definitely UK. If it's not Walter, it's UK for sure. It's
Fair point.
real quick, speaking of new challenges, though, Tyler Bray had a dope promo, but one person didn't like it was Sam Gradwell. He was like, the only yogi you should have picnic baskets. I thought that was pretty hilarious. This match is happening next week. Tyler Bate, Sam Gradwell. Jack, who you got?
That was one of the lines of the night. The only yogi I like is one that still picnic baskets. Hey, boo-boo. I love this promo. I love the promo. I love how they've been doing these. Mustache Mountain knocks these out of the park, by the way, because Trent Seven had similar promos. And I love how it shows the heart. It shows how losing affects them. And I think that's an important thing in pro wrestling. I think sometimes we say, oh, they lost, they're off to the next week, no big deal.
Right.
I like hearing that losses hurt. Losses are emotionally damaging to them. It's not just, oh shucks, I lost one, back at them next week. I like that it eats at them. I like that championship mentality of, I don't like losing. It really bothers me, and I'm going to come back stronger and better next time. So I really love this promo, and not just the fact that he was saying it, but I thought the way he delivered it was really, really good and really got me on board to see the next Tyler Bate match. Of course, Gradwell,
it's going to be a fun one.
Stepped all over it too, but and really made me excited to see those two guys. They're going to have a hard-hitting match. They're going to throw each other around. They're going to hit each other very, very hard. If you're into that bruiser style of match,
I'm in.
I think it's going to be pretty good. I think that's going to be one of those ones that next week I predict you and I are both going to be going, geez. That's what we're going to say. I'm going to say, geez.
Right. It was funny you mentioned that the Mustache Mountain promos in collective, because I was watching the Tyler Bate one and I'm like, is he going to take a break like Trent Seven? Who's 8 kids? Like somehow retire both members of Mustache Mountain. Real quick, what's up, Adam? Thanks for watching the show, Draped in Gold, presented by Gamer Aware. I'm just like, oh man, I hope he's not retiring. Drop my iPad, it's all good. I hope he's not retiring, but now we get in a match next week. It's going to be a hard-hitting affair, and I, for one, love it. Speaking of hard-hitting affairs, your boy, Boma, Dave Massive, had a match against Saxon Huxley, with Dave Massive getting the edge out win. Now, we're talking about wins and losses, but I'm starting to wonder about my man Huxley here. As a guy as strong and as Bruiser Brody-esque as he is, should he not be winning more?
The first thing that comes to mind is Huxley needs to stop with these 2-on-1 matches. It's not going to help him any. And I think today is an example of that. And I know what you're saying. It was only Mastiff, but I challenge you to look at Mastiff and say it's not a 2-on-1 match. That guy's so big. He counts as 2. I've said it before. I think right now Huxley is just this very unstoppable, untamed freight train of a person. And I think he needs someone who has taken people like that before and led them to the top. I think he needs Eddie Dennis to come to his aid. I think he needs Eddie Dennis to help focus him. I think he needs to put him back on that track. And I think with someone like Eddie Dennis by his side, Huxley could be the single most dangerous person in NXT UK, because Huxley has everything. He just needs the focus.
You know what? You mentioned that, and I was like, that is a dumb idea. But the more I thought about it, Jack, in the 3 or 4 seconds I did, I go, that's actually a dope idea. You know, now we're looking at these factions or having at least 4 people, whether you're Hurt Business or Undisputed Era and all that stuff. Well, Inner Circle has like 7, but they're still good. Anyway, point being, if you are Saxon Huxley and you sign with Eddie Dennis or, I don't know, do a blood oath with him, I'm not sure what his deal is, do you become a member of the Hunt? You get an animal-like thing too? Or are you going to be your own entity? Are you going to be the Hatchet Man, like Alexander Wolf? What would Huxley be in that Eddie Dennis stable?
I mean, I want you to imagine the poster with the Hunt and with Huxley and then Eddie Dennis kind of pulling the strings like the puppet master he is. I think that sells tickets. I think whether or not I don't think you need to change his name. He's Huxley. We know him. He's too far in to be doing name changes. And what are you going to call him? The Giraffe because he's so tall? Who cares? We have to,
Wild boy, a giraffe.
Giraffe.
The herbivore, yes. That's
You're looking leafy today.
I like how Jack has one great idea and then the giraffe wins it. Any final thoughts about this episode of NXTUK before we move on to Classic?
I think it was just another great episode. It's one of those episodes that comes around every now and again, and you're like, oh, we're getting that match today? Oh, and that match today? And that match today? It was great. I think it had a lot of fun stuff. It had a lot of surprise wins and twists and turns and things like that as far as in the matches go. I mean, maybe not twists and turns because Devlin was the favorite and he won and things like that. But I think Jenny getting the win was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people, which made that fun. I think.
Not for me.
I think the fun of Devlin and Carter was first off, the surprise that we got it today was pretty surprising, and how good of a match it was great. I think there's a lot of good stuff. And I think Huxley versus Mastiff, just two big bangers going at it. What more could you ask for? I thought this was a really, really good way to start the year.
Yeah, definitely a strong week for wrestling in general. I'm not even just talking about NXT UK. I mean, NXT, AEW, even Impact had a little bit of action across AEW, as we talked about that in our sister show, Draped, Elite of the Week. But before moving on, man, I had a little bit of a bad day already today, Jack. I went to make some coffee, and my coffee tasted like mud. I am sick. I need some recommendations for some of the good stuff.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If you have bad coffee, I know which coffee it isn't. It isn't Broasters coffee, which you can get at www.thebroasters.com, because they have the best coffee around. And I know that for a fact because all of their beans are organic. They're roasted weekly. They don't do this blend stuff. Only the best. Go to www.thebroasters.com. Use promo code BROCODE1 and see what I'm talking about. It's the best you're going to try.
Wow, I'm going to try after this. But first, I have to get to NXT. Because it's New Year's Evil, hosted by Dexter Lumis, who didn't say anything, but his suit bespoke for him. It was a fantastic intro, I thought, NXT canon. And yes, it's a pun. I apologize. I hate puns. Started off with a match that I thought would have been the Hour 1 main event. Karrion Kross coming back with his first official matchup against Damian Priest, the Archer of Infamy. Now, to me, the result wasn't that much of a shock. But was a shock to me is how Karrion Kross won, in my opinion, doing his little side suplex into the elbow in the back of the head. This may be his brand new finisher. Jack Farmer, thoughts about the match, thoughts about the way the match ended?
I think that this may have been Karrion Kross's best match since coming to NXT. I thought this was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I thought Damian Priest did an amazing job as well. And I mean, I think we agree that we kind of figured that Karrion Kross, who's just been unstoppable since coming to NXT, was probably the favorite here. But Damian Priest really gave him a show, and they gave us a show with those intros. Two of the best intros in NXT right now. I loved this match. I thought it was amazing. And I agree. I like that elbow to the back of the head. I think it's quick. It looks dangerous. And that suplex is cool, but it's just, I agree with what you've said in the past. It just doesn't feel like a finish. It feels like a cool move. So I like the elbow to the back of the head. It feels very damaging. I like it. It looks brutal. It looks tough, and you can really pop it off at just about any time. So I think it's a cool move. I liked this, and I don't know what's next for these guys, which is always an interesting place to be.
Well, too bad. Here's my follow-up question. But first, what up, Grant? How's it going, man? Appreciate the love. So I have this written down here because I want to know what Jack thought about this. I said, Kross may be looking like he's on the path to finish what he started. Would you put him in the main event instantly, or would you do like our friend Cedric Welton says and let him cook in the mid-card?
I would, for now. You know what? No, I'd put him into the main event. I don't think we need to see him steamroll people for the next 6 months. We all know where he's going. We know what the match is going to be. It's going to be Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see happen. Why wait, Flobo? Why wait until July for that when I could have it in January or February takeover? I think that would be a good thing to see, Flobo. Why not? Why wait? We know where he's going. We know what this is. Why put it off any longer? I mean, do we really want to see a buildup of Karrion Kross versus Leon Ruff? No. We want to see him go for the title. We want to see him be the guy we know he's going to be eventually. My question for you, Flobo, I'm throwing it back to you.
Okay. Wait, before you do that, I would definitely want to see a Karrion Kross Leon Ruff match. But okay, continue.
That would be. I don't think that would go the way you think it.
Oh no, Leon Ruff! No,
I'm so sorry. Leon Ruff looks at the camera and is like, why, Flobo?
Why? I thought it was a good idea.
I'm going to name 6 wrestlers, okay?
Okay.
Hear me out. So, Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor, Adam Cole,
Baby.
Tommaso Ciampa,
Okay.
Johnny Gargano, and I forgot who my sixth one was going to be. So I'll just say those 5, right?
Okay. So Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor, Ciampa, Gargano, and
Adam Cole.
Adam Cole. Baby.
Baby. One of those 5 are going to beat Karrion Kross and give him his first loss, or anybody else. Which do you pick? So it's going to be one of those 5, or you can take the field. Meaning it could be anyone. It could be maybe he gets promoted to a different. Maybe he's on SmackDown when it happens. Maybe it's it could be anybody else or one of those 5. What do you think is more likely?
If Finn Balor was not in that 5, I would say the field. But Finn Balor is the only one that's making me going. Cause that's what the collision course is. I do see Karrion Kross going all the way to Finn, losing, and then having that Karrion Kross 2 and getting the title that way. Mm-hmm. You know what, betting man, and I have no money, so you can't owe you more. I bet $0 on the field.
The field, okay.
I bet the field. Why not? Yes. He gets rolled up by Kushida. That's it.
Kushida's he's thinking, though. He's like, what you don't know is I'm going to go back in time, and I've already beaten him. So we're just going to wake up.
He's not actually a time traveler.
We're just going to wake up and go, wait a minute. Kushida already beat him. Why didn't I think of that?
$1,000 says. Dylan Matthews says, Cameron Grimes to the moon, Mackenzie. Which I think is all right.
I love Cameron Grimes. I want Cameron Grimes to have his own TV show. I
would watch that.
Living a regular life, but still dressed as he's going to be in a wrestling ring. But like going to Starbucks and like just living his daily life.
Sir, you can put a shirt on to the moon. Elliot Fletcher says, I think Bronson Reed or Colorado beat Cross. Hey, you know me. I love my thick boy. Bronson Reed is the future of that brand. I already know it. And Cross Devil asks an interesting question. We see this a lot of time when it comes to wrestling. Do you think NXT will ever do intergender wrestling like the men can do a wrestling move on a female wrestler? Now, we've heard this question about wrestling in WWE as a whole. But I do think NXT has a couple more ring cows. Jack Farmer, what do you think?
First off, to Elliot, I think that Bronson and Kyle O'Reilly are both guys that could theoretically beat him. It might be a little bit, though. Bronson Reed's going to be the Damian Priest of 2021. I think he's going to be the guy that we're looking for what he's trying to do and trying to find his place, and then he's going to end 2021 as a solidified guy near the top. As far as the intergender wrestling thing, I like the intergender wrestling thing. I like when we mix as many people up into the same pot as possible. I don't think in the near future it'll be happening. I mean, if we talk about it for all of time, sure, maybe it'll happen. But I wouldn't hold my breath on it happening anytime soon, at least not in an official way. I mean, you might see something like when Baron Corbin hit Becky Lynch with the End of Days, and then that was it. But right. I don't think it'll be like, TakeOver, Rhea Ripley versus Adam Cole,
Right. Yeah, I'm with you there. The thing is that NXT is still a PG product. And I don't think you can do that with PG product because, look, their sponsors are Liberty Mutual Insurance and,
right.
and things like that. I doubt that's the case. I would say if NXT still had house shows, you might get a couple things like that, because you can build up a storyline where it might be equal. But when it comes week to week, we don't know. Charlene corroborates with you. Has Corbin moves and girls a few times. Well, yeah, we're talking about a match, like an actual bell-to-bell on a poster. Next week, it's in Fuego because Rhea Ripley is taking on Bronson Reed, like that kind of thing. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
At least not in the near future.
But
again, 2072, I don't know what's. Then we'll be talking about robot versus human matches, I guess.
Oh man, Money the Robot every time.
Yeah, every time.
Why do we do this? The robot's not quitting; it's actually restarting. No. Talking about girls who can beat up guys, Xia Li is back in the arena with Boa in tow. Look, the match was academic. The now newly renamed Katrina Cortez, the former Catalina, or the former Katarina, depending on which part of her career you know her from. But she's now, Katarina Cortez was the sacrificial lamb. But the real story is this. After weeks of being beaten off camera and down the block in a warehouse in the Performance Center, she is now a reinvigorated Xia Li. Jack Farmer, so many questions. What does it mean, Xia Li and Boa? Who's leading the chair? What's the name of the group mean? Because it's the Tian Sha. What? Help me out here.
First and foremost, Cortez had his last name added only to have it eventually removed at some point down the road anyways. But this is one of those things, Flobo. It happens few and far between, but I think you and I both love what's going on with Xia Li. This was Mortal Kombat feeling when she came out.
Shadow Realm.
So cool. Shadow Realm. Underworld.
It was great.
It was so cool to see. It was so cool. I love the entrance. This is a perfect example of how you rebuild someone without having to have a bunch of pointless matches that don't matter. They take little snippets of time every week just and show that there is a transformation happening. These things that we've been watching over the past few weeks, if this was a movie, that would be the montage training session where we know that now she's different and better.
Yeah, you're the best around. She's getting knocked out.
This was great. I loved it. I loved that I think Boa looked cool as hell standing there in the suit with the red sash thing on. I thought that Xia Li looked cool. I thought she looked vicious and brutal with those strikes. Whoever it is in the chair, I am terrified of and want to see more of at the same time. This was fantastic. I loved it. It was. I am invested in Xia Li now in a way that I never would have before without this. So I can't wait to see what's next. I want to see Boa in the ring now.
Oh, yeah, actually. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. This is actually a fun fact. Even though I love Jessica Maya to death, and she is definitely one of my favorite female wrestlers for I'm a fan, the first ever boo thing of the week I ever did when I dropped it was Xia Li. And it wasn't because how she looked. It was because how hard she struck, even in her training. She demolished a couple of these boxing pads. I'm like, this is literally the hardest hitting superstar on that roster, and now she gets to do it as a heel? Wow. I'm in. I want to see her beat up more stuff. I don't care who it is. Again, it's kind of lame that it had to be someone that, in Katarina, who's tried to be on the roster, was on Raw for a bit, was not on Raw for a bit, but I am so glad Xia Li is refreshed, reinvigorated, and like you, I want to see what Boa does in the ring now.
Do you think people are booing her? Do you think people at home don't like her?
No, I don't mean that, because I don't. People like and cheer who they cheer for, who they hate. But I do think she's being presented as this menace. Whether or not you cheer for her is up to you, but she's not going to be a happy-go-lucky. I'm doing my best, you know.
I think she's a perfect example of having kind of an embarrassment of riches in the women's division, where you don't have to have this fine line between people you love and people you hate. You can have characters that just act a certain way, and you decide whether or not you like them or hate them. That's the tall tale sign of a division that's deep and well established. And I think she's just the example that she's the fruits that are being bared from that kind of division. And I can't wait to see where she's at. I'm definitely a fan of hers right now.
If you guys are a kind of people who only watches the main matches on the show, you know who you are. No judgments here. You got to go back to the way how that match ended. That spin kick was absolutely, I think it was even more tougher than the Black Mass. Like it was, it was nuts. I would not want to take one of those safely or not. But that's just me, you know.
I don't know how you do it safely. She spun around 1,000 times and flung her foot at someone's face. I don't know how you do that safe. How do you learn to fall off a 20-foot ladder, Flobo? That's what I'm trying to say here.
JR, is that you? Cross Devil says, and I agree, I'm getting Tribal Chief vibes from Xia Li. Acknowledge me.
The Tribal Chief's so cool.
Oh, yeah, it totally is, man. And Elliot also says, the person in the chair should be Aaliyah, so we get the greatest feud in NXT history. Finally team up against each other. That's long-term storytelling. That's a surprise. It was me all along, Austin.
Right. That's why she kept getting hit in the face over and over in those videos. She's like, this is for hitting me in the nose.
Imagine that. Such a grudge that for weeks he beat someone up. Speaking of safety, though, fight pit's delayed. I'm not sure if it's because of actual injuries or because of spreading the love around. I totally understand that. But it's all right. But we do have a women's match, a last woman standing match, which I don't think many of them. Raquel Gonzalez against Rhea Ripley. I am conflicted with this one, Jack. Raquel Gonzalez needed the win. She got the win. She looks great. And Rhea Ripley definitely seems like we were saying that Johnny Gargano, you've already graduated. What are you doing hanging around here kind of vibe? What's that say about the division of how easily Raquel Gonzalez got up from that last chair bomb or table bomb? It was like, sorry, Rhea Ripley.
What does that say about the division? So easily, Raquel Gonzalez is just an unstoppable freight train. You can't, like, it's not easy. It's just that she's just incredible. She is the strongest, most dangerous, most dominant female wrestler on the planet right now. I don't care who else is out there. I don't care what division you're talking about. If you're looking for pound muscle, no one else measures up to Raquel Gonzalez.
I agree.
She proved it today. The story of this match, though, I think you got to give a round of applause to both of them. It was not only hard-hitting, it was not only brutal, it was fun. They did so many cool, innovative things. I loved Raquel Gonzalez getting handcuffed to the fence and just breaking away from it. I loved that Dakota Kai got shoved into a locker. That was a fun little side part of the match.
Still there, actually. Don't let her out.
She's still like, guys.
She tweeted that as much. Did she tweet it? Hey guys, anyone here?
I thought the submission with the chair on Raquel's face was cool, and that slam through the staging, that was amazing. It was an amazing match, and Rhea Ripley quietly having probably the toughest 12 months of anyone that I can think of. I mean, she had that War Games match. She had or I guess that was maybe more than 12 months ago at this point. But she had the War Games match. She had the cage match with I'm spacing out. She just came back to face Io. Rhea Ripley. Who did she have the cage match with again recently?
Chat, help me out. It wasn't Toni Storm because her match was normal. Raquel Gonzalez, Mercedes Martinez.
Mercedes Martinez. That's what it was. Yeah, sorry. Martinez, that's what it was.
Yes, it was. Names and faces.
I couldn't get Raquel Gonzalez's name, just kept rattling around in my. I was like, it wasn't her.
Well, they're all the super heavyweights in the division. Or the heavyweights.
But yeah, she's gone through so many tough people and had so many tough matches. You got to give her a round of applause. But Raquel Gonzalez, the most unstoppable, and I got to say, I think she's going to be the one that takes the title from Io Shirai.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat when it comes to Raquel Gonzalez. I was a fan of her way back when she was Reina Gonzalez in the Mae Young Classic. I always mention it with those denim chaps. So it's always cool to see my friends win. Like I said, I'm a guy, I'll pick you, and I'll ride it to the end. So you got to become world champ so I can tell people, I told you so. I know how to pick them. Because if not, then I'll have an Andrade situation. I'll be like, sorry.
I'm still hanging in there with Andrade. One of these days.
I'm in the bandwagon, but the bandwagon is pretty empty. So I'm kind of stretched out on this bandwagon. Like, guys, anyone? But you're right. I haven't noticed here. I mean, tables, broken glass, everything you want to be, everything you want, you got. And randomly, I put down the fact that there's a new South Korean TV partner in IB Sports. He took time to mention that in the show, so I said, "Wow, whatever." Let's talk about the Way, man. One of the more interesting factions there. What up, Lars Newt? Thanks for stopping by. Interesting factions there. We love them. I've come around on them. Maybe not as hard as you have, but definitely I like the fact what they stand for. Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory, the perfect sitcom impromptu matchup here. You got the Garganos against Kushida, which is my number one overall rank in this brand. I love the guy. I even bought a shirt last night in the Swap Zone. And Shotzi Blackheart, one of the people, like we were saying, like Dexter Loomis was, we were being chosen to build up on this brand. This right here has a lot of other aspects besides the match itself, about how the faith they have in Kushida, the faith they have in Shotzi in their new tank, and the strength of the Gargano Way. Your thoughts about the match, Jack?
So I love that the Way is finally starting to get some respect. I love that as champions, they finally had their champions parade on the way to the ring. They should have had their parade a long time ago, but today they finally got it. It was great to see, or last night I should say. It was great to see. I think they deserved it. I love that they created that everything tournament style poster for the Way. I thought that was very cool as well. One thing that I want to hear you defend this, Flobo, because I have said Shotzi Blackheart is a terrible person for weeks now, months now. That tank is just a horrible thing. She rolls up in the middle of their ceremony and shoots Austin Theory right in the crotch. I want you to defend her actions before I say anything about this match.
Sure. Shotzi Blackheart is someone who just encapsulates most of us here. Most of us who say, look, we understand the accolades of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. We understand Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory are prospect talents, but they're pretty much ne'er-do-wells. They're pretty much the evil side of things. And so even though she has a tank that she had to rebuild because Candice LeRae destroyed it, and then she shot Austin Theory because he got really close to that weapon without wearing a helmet, really. It's just not at fault here. She's just doing what we all want to do. We all love seeing Austin Theory writhing on the floor in pain. We all want to see Johnny Gargano get his comeuppance, so why not?
It's never okay to shoot a guy in the balls, Flobo. Even Cartman on South Park says it's never okay to do that. I want to hear you say it was okay for her to do that, because that was wrong and she should have stopped. They should have thrown up the X. They should have ended things right there. To help this guy. It's completely wrong for this to happen. It was inappropriate, Flobo. Dude, I can't stand here and let this happen.
If you throw up the X for that, then every time I trip or I sneeze, this is your ref be like, he's out. Sorry, guys. See you next week. Throw up the X.
I also find it very, very convenient that as soon as they announce that they're going to enter the Dusty Classic, that they're going to enter this, suddenly Kushida shows up. You know why he showed up, Flobo? Because that was future Kushida. He saw that they eventually win the tournament, and now he's come back in time to stop them from winning. And the only reason he won is because he was able to watch this match in the future, go back and change things. It's unfair.
Nobody realizes he's a time traveler anymore. No one.
It's not a fair playing field, Flobo. I don't like that they're using time travel to manipulate the way is presented, and I'm glad that we have someone as good as Johnny Gargano that can overcome time travel to win matches in the future, hopefully.
You would be the person to be the advocate for Vince McMahon back in the day. Who told Steve Austin to take a beer truck to a workplace environment? How dare he? You know what? Sometimes you gotta break the rules and make the rules work for you. But you're right. There is a Dusty Classic for the men, and for the first time, the women will have their own Dusty Rhodes Classic. I'm not sure if they're gonna be concurrent or week in and week off, but I'm excited for that because we talked about the depth of the women's roster in NXT. Anyone you want to see in this tournament who has not been announced quite yet?
I don't know if they were officially announced. I didn't hear it, but I want to see grizzled young veterans in this tournament. I loved them. I grew to love them in the last one. They are probably one of my favorite tag teams going right now, particularly as I guess is under the radar at this point. I think overall to the wrestling world, grizzled young veterans are very much still under the radar. I think to anyone who's been paying attention, they know that these guys are going to be huge. They're going to be great stars. They're great on the microphone. They're great in the ring. They look cool. They have everything you want. I want them to win the whole thing. I'm looking forward to grizzled young veterans.
Okay, yeah. I think they went to the semifinals last time, and I thought they had a good showing. And yeah, if they win this one, it'd be totally well-deserved and perfect timing for them. Imagine if Rise wins. Crazy.
I think that and to the other Dusty Classic, they're going to have the women's and the men's. I love this too. I think you have more than enough female talent to put together a ton of great tag teams. I love tournaments, as the world knows. I love seeing this kind of stuff happen. I'm glad to see that both sides are being represented here, and I can't wait to see who these different winners are going to be. I hope that the winners of the Dusty Classic get tag team title shots for both genders.
Yeah. The only legit tag team I can think of, though, is Casey and Caden. Unless, I mean, would you have them win this one, or are they not developed enough you'll have a makeshift tag team win this tournament?
There's other tag teams you can put together that makes sense. I think you have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell already makes sense. I think Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai already makes sense. And you've got others that you can put together that you'd say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Plus, you always have your what's the phrase? The strange bedfellows tag teams where you just kind of throw them together and go, you kind of fit together. Let's put you together as a team. And that's what the Broserweights were originally. And that turned out fantastic.
Well, sometimes you have the purists who don't like that, like the Aleister Black Ricochet winning the Dusty Classic their year. Or not winning. Did they win? No, they went to the finals against the War Raiders. But yeah, that was a whole big deal about them being like a makeshift tag team. But I understand.
But they're fun. You know what? If you're one of those purists, just get over yourself. They're fun. Who cares? It's a good time.
Snap. Get over yourself. Jack Farmer said that. So if you have a problem with Jack Farmer, make sure you hit him up at Real Jack Farmer all across all social media.
I mean, that's how, unless you're like a brother setup or unless you train together originally in like wrestling school, that's basically how every single tag team starts, is it's a random pairing and then they eventually grow on us and then they become a tag team. Look at Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. They were thrown together, but now they've been a tag team for years and it works out great.
They're still kind of thrown together, though. They were different. They were the same tights now, which is an improvement. Elliot Fletcher says, GYV, Imperium, Undisputed Era, OReilly, Gargano, and Theory, and Breezango, and Stallion and Gray haven't announced so far. I forgot about Stallion and Gray. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And don't forget about our main event tonight, last night, the Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor 2 saga. For some reason, Finn Balor always gets bloodied, but he still wins. Yeah. Hey, a good effort. Some would say a lot more strenuous for both men this time around, but the Prince still retains. Jack Farmer, did the NXT Universe get this one right?
Yes. I think that Finn Balor, he's one of those guys that is going to be at the top of any division he's in, and he should be. I think he's the kind of person that collects eyeballs, gets people looking. When I say collect eyeballs, I don't mean like Seth Rollins last year. I mean like viewers, obviously. And he gets people looking, so that's always fun. I think tonight was Kyle O'Reilly's true coming out party. I think he's been building up, and people have been rooting for him for a long time. And I think his last match with Finn Balor was a banger, and we all loved it. But you never know. It could have been a fluke. It could have been a one-off. I think this match showed that this guy's here to stay. This guy's a champion, and he's the only thing that's going to stop him from becoming the NXT champion is if he moves to another brand before it happens. But he's definitely going to be a champion, and I think that he should be a champion. I think everyone will be happy once it does happen.
So a question I'm going to ask you that I asked you about 2-3 weeks ago on this show is Kyle O'Reilly the new head of the snake in the Undisputed Era?
Not until he wins that title. I think as long as Adam Cole is the longest reigning NXT champion of all time, he's still the guy who cuts the best promos. He's still the guy that everyone looks to. I mean, he's still the one that everyone says "baby" for when they, during this thing. I think that Adam Cole's the guy. Once Kyle O'Reilly wins that title, if the Undisputed Era is still together, then there's going to be a bit of a power play. But until then, Adam Cole's the guy.
Would you want to hit a power play, or is that a trope well-worn in wrestling factions?
It's well-worn, but it's always fun. I mean, come on. It's always a fun time. It's always, of course, the visual of the thumbs down in Evolution is always the first thing I think about whenever I think about those kind of things. But it's always fun. Like, no one's ever like, oh, this again. It's like, oh, This is fun.
Are Undisputed Era now officially protagonists?
I mean, I think everyone's cheering for them. To be fair, people have been cheering for them for a long time. So, yeah, I think that I would consider them the guys that you love and the guys you cheer for.
Just real quick, I want your thoughts on that Grand Metalik Santos Escobar match. I wasn't going to cover it, but I think we should. Only because, Santa Escobar is one of the Cruiserweight champions. But you had Grand Metalik where on paper it looked like he wasn't going to win, and of course he didn't. But leading up to this match, Lucha House Party had like 2 good victories on Raw, so it kind of seemed like it was going to be momentum, but it kind of seemed like it wasn't. So what's your thoughts on that real quick?
Yeah, first off, everyone talks about underrated or underappreciated or underutilized. The poster boy for that term is Cesaro. But if there was another person, it would be Grand Metalik. Grand Metalik is so good. He's so smooth. He is one of the best luchadors on the planet right now. And I was thinking about it. Is this the best that Lucha Libre has been represented on American TV ever? I mean, maybe going back to like WCW Cruiserweight days. But, I mean, when you look at whether it be Lucha House Party and Grand Metalik, whether you be looking at like Santos Escobar, whether you're looking at the fact that Rey Mysterio's still around, whether you look at even, on the other side of things with like Rey Fenix and all these other guys, it feels like Lucha Libre is having a really good run right now. But just to finish my thoughts on the match before we dive into what I just asked you, even though that was poorly put together, I'm going to say this. Santos Escobar, the Cruiserweight champion. I don't know how you could argue otherwise. He comes out like the style of this guy. He is low-key one of the best entrance attires in wrestling right now with different setups and looks that are still always playing homage to Lucha Libre. He's so good. He's the one that made the Cruiserweight Championship something that everyone's looking for and everyone's gunning for. He single-handedly is building this thing. He's the guy, and I don't think he's going to lose it for a long time because he's so good and the true #1 Cruiserweight champion.
45 minutes ago, you just said it was Jordan Devlin. Now you're saying it's Santos Escobar.
Low-key, this was one of the matches of the week, by the way. No one's talking about it like they should, but this was a banger of a match. And for me, it's one of those matches where I'm like, this is why when people say it's tough to put together these shows, and I get it, it is. I just think, just give us these bangers. That's all you got to do. Give us these banger matches, and we're going to be happy. This was a great match. I think that this was low-key one of the best matches of the week.
Yeah, it was a solid one, and I do think, to answer your question, yes, I think Lucha Libre as an art style and craft is being represented now more than ever. You can argue whether or not these characters are developed enough to have them really resonate. So I think it's a problem with Lucha House Party, because when they do come out, there is that, I don't say stink, but that era of, okay, who are they putting over today? Which I do think was one of the worst trades SmackDown could have done. Because going into the draft, Lucha House Party was a legitimate, they were becoming a threat. Kalisto was back, it was kind of a thing. They were getting wins, and they struggled for a bit moving to Raw. But you're right, this was definitely one of the matches you're not going to hear about because the players involved, but the move for move, the story told, the style on display has as one of the best, and I'm so glad we're able to cover it. But before we get out of here, Jack, it's now time for my favorite part of the show. It's now time for the MVP of NXT, brought to you part by GameWare. That's right, you can suit up and game on at gmrware.com. Use promo code Flovo for a discount. So I got to ask you a question, the question I ask on every episode. Who was one person, one man, one woman, one team that stood out for you on either episode of NXT or NXT UK?
This is a tough one, as always. Every week it's a tough one, but this one was a real toss-up. I got to go with Raquel Gonzalez. I think winning that hard-hitting, brutal match against Rhea Ripley, who I think a lot of people consider the class of the division in some cases, the toughest competitor in the division, even though she may not have the title. I think a lot of people consider her kind of like the top of the heap. But Raquel Gonzalez beat her in a match that Rhea Ripley should be well-suited at, which I think says a lot. I think this is the match that's going to propel her to that title match down the road. I think that she's the one to win it, and I think she wins it for me.
Yeah, you can't knock that pick at all. There's no reason why I would dissent or say, oh, I can't believe you went with Raquel Gonzalez. She came up, she showed out. I always thought she was bona fide, but I think now you cannot deny what Raquel Gonzalez is doing. My pick, my girl, the original Blue Thing, Xia Li. Now we're seeing what the whole training montage was in practice. I don't know about what, but I can tell. She's gone from that person going out being, oh, it's Xia Li, to, wait, what's going on this week? And that says a lot, yes, of the writers, yes, of the production staff, but the performer themselves have to sell it. It has to be a real character. We sat here and talked about how we feel like some characters or some wrestlers are performing or cosplaying their roles. You don't feel that a lot with Xia Li. She can beat you up, and she proved it last night. That is why she is my MVP of NXT. Jack Farmer, it's about time to hit the road. We got the Everything Tournament in about an hour's time. If you haven't checked out the Everything Tournament, make sure you do on the internet. But where can the world find you online?
You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I've been on a winter break, but I'm back starting today, meaning new episodes of Anytime Radio are coming back. Yes. Everything Tournament's coming back. Elite of the Week is coming back, and so much more. Follow me on social media at Real Jack Farmer so you can stay up to date on all the comings and goings that are coming up.
Yeah, you heard the man. And I'm Flobo Boyce. You can follow me at Flobo Boyce on Twitter and on Instagram at Flobito on Instagram, Flobito.com. And learn more about the show at newamsterdam.com, KNWAmsterdam.com. You know, Jack, play us out. Say the words.
Do your best and be yourself.